Hey, what's up, guys? This is another episode of Off the Beaten Path podcast. We are on episode number 12. I'm Bobby, and I'm here today with Nate and Luca Bordonaro.
How you doing, Luca?
Hello, guys. So nice to see you.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Very
sir.
good to
Nice
see
meet.
you and meet you.
Yes.
Excited.
So, just tell us a little bit about what you do and what your goal is.
What mine?
Yeah, what's your goal? What are you doing musically, and who are you as a person?
All right. That's a big one. I am Luca. I love the clarinet. I started playing the clarinet when I was 7 years old in my little town band, and I wanted to develop my knowledge of music. So I basically just went on studying music, and growing musically made my sensibility grow. And now I think my goal would be to basically put my sensitivity, my way of seeing the world in my music for people to enjoy it and maybe get moved by it. So I don't know if I would clarify a goal. I don't know if I have a clear musical goal, like I want to do beats or I want to do jazz fusion. Whatever, man. If it's gonna move people, I'm happy with that. And my what I do is I play the clarinet and bass clarinet. I started learning sound design and AR production through yes, augmented reality application.
Awesome. So, you started bass clarinet at a young age. What got you into music? Do you have any musical influences in your family that got you started, or what was it?
All right, nope. It's just that my town is very small and we had one marching band. So every summer there was a reunion of marching bands. And there is one main street, so you see the marching bands passing. And I was like, oh, that's cool. But what moved me was like my mom brought me to the sofa and she was like, you know, you're 7 years old. I think you should start playing an instrument. It's gonna be good for you. So just pick one while the marching bands are passing. That's how I started. And then a series of lucky events, you know. In the marching band, the bass clarinet player had to leave to go to the armies. So the bass clarinet, like the instrument, was left alone. And the director asked this student, hey, do you want to play the bass clarinet? And she was like, you know, I don't think I'm into it. And then he was like, Luca, would you like to try it? And I was, yes, why not? And that's how I started with the bass clarinet, basically.
Hell yeah, that's badass. And I mean, I saw one of your videos where it was a marching band going through the street. So, yeah, it was
Oh
on
my God.
Instagram.
Oh, okay.
And you were playing like at the top, but there was a marching band going through the street. And speaking of marching bands, would you what do you like more? Do you like playing in like a marching band or an orchestra type setting, or more just with like two or three people?
Oh, okay. Um, I think they are really different vibes, really different settings, and they can put out different parts of me. So I wouldn't exclude one of the other. I would love to be doing three of them. The marching band, for my experience in my town, is much more like brotherhood and being on a fun vibe and just enjoying the music for the rustic side of it. Then the orchestra, I love the orchestra because it's all about refinement and perfection, and you need to express it as the composer wanted. And this is what fascinates me of classical music, you know.
Right.
As well as the duo, trio sets, or just small ensembles that can be contemporary or classical. They are so exciting because there is so much interaction, especially in the contemporary world where after the like you have a lot of freedom inside the performances and you can just interact so much. So this is the space where you have those magical moments, or oh, the guitar player just played that chord and I'm gonna enhance it, and even if they're not in the chord progression, I love it and we are in a new vibe now. These kind of magical moments, they are cool.
Right, right.
Love it.
Hell yeah, man. And
Right.
also, do you play any other instruments besides bass clarinet, or is that your main instrument that you're focused on?
So, of course, the bass clarinet is a rare instrument. So, my attention, and since I like it so much because of the flexibility, I am very much focused on the bass clarinet. But as most, I don't know any bass clarinet player that didn't start from the clarinet. So, I actually started with the clarinet and then I went into bass clarinet. But also, you need to learn a little bit of piano to be able to compose and to produce. And then, as a Sicilian, I love these two peculiar Sicilian instruments. One is called Marranzano, and is our version of the Jew's harp. You know, down, 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 down.
Mm.
It's a very folkish instrument that actually many cultures have, and in Sicily we have our own shape. Look, one sec.
Oh yeah, take your time.
Yeah, I actually never saw my great grandfather play, but my grandmother tells stories of mine and Nate's great grandfather having played Juice Harp when he was younger.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Well, that's cool looking.
Oh yeah.
So this is the Sicilian shape. Every country has their own shape. Uh, Tell me if it's too loud.
That's
That
cool
was
as shit.
cool,
Oh,
man. That
it's
sounds
so
like
fun.
that sounds like a
Hell
didgeridoo
yeah.
too, kind of like a
Yes, I
yeah.
mean, you slow down, you pitch it down, you put some distortion. It's so much fun.
Man, that was cool. I like that
Nice.
shit.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh
and,
yeah.
and another instrument that I love to play is the friscaletto. This is a special Sicilian flute, handmade and done from canes from a river. They made it dry and then they put the holes, and it's super rustic, so it's out of tune. And the beauty is that people that have no musical theory knowledge, they compose for the instruments that they own. So the musicality of the songs that they compose is for that untuned instrument.
Mm.
It's just
Oh
crazy.
wow! So every instrument has its own uniqueness to it.
Basically, yes, yes.
That's very cool.
Yeah, that would be something that I would do because I play I play bass
Oh,
guitar,
cool.
but I have no musical theory, no understanding of music. I can if I look up a bass tab, I can play it, but when it comes to musical theory, if someone's playing a chord, I'm like, I don't know where to play. Tell me where to play and I can play it.
Totally, totally.
So
I
yeah,
do feel it.
that instrument would definitely be for me.
And the vibe I'm getting from you so far is that you like things that are kind of off the beaten path, kind of fit in the theme of what we like to do here. And
Yeah.
another thing that's not very popular is playing music with a looping machine.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I first ran across that when I saw Victor Wooten play Stevie Wonder's "Isn't She Lovely?" and he did it looping it.
Yeah.
It got very popular on YouTube. I ran across it, and I actually went and bought it. I was like, "Oh man, this is really cool! Like, I can compose things fully by myself." But that's
Yeah.
so difficult because the challenge you run into, like say us three are playing, I can vibe off what you're doing, what Nate's doing, but when it's just me, it's hard to give good texture and different rhythms and different flavors because it's all my playing style, playing with myself. But you
Yes.
do looping techniques with a bass clarinet, and it sounds so good. Like, kind of explain your process of how you approach it.
Okay. So, that's a big one. In Berkeley, I started learning about EDM production and sound design, and I got into Ableton. So everything started because at Berkeley we have these machines and we can try them out. So I was using an RC300 from Bose. I was like, wow, that's so cool. And they do competitions. So I went on YouTube searching for videos and getting inspired. And then the bass clarinet, as it's a very flexible instrument, can go very low and very high. I would do some bass lines and then improvise on top. So at first was like a way for me to practice improvisation. I would create a bass line in a chord, let's say, and then on that tonality I would improvise. But then I was like, you know what, this is dope. So there was a friend of mine playing vocoder, and in a concert at Berkeley, I would take out the mouthpiece from the bass clarinet, turn the neck, and popping the keys, you have a little sound, basically, a little bit of air coming out of the neck. So it does this kind of syn sound, pow, 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 every time I pop the key and the neck is going out. So instead of him speaking to the vocoder would get inside the neck of the bass clarinet, and he would play the chord, and I would give the input. And this would go inside the RC300, the loop station. And then we were composing, and we composed a song in 7/8, and we were then improvising like two people to create one sound. But coming back to me as bass clarinet and looping, I just love it because of the minimalism, inspiration. You can create so many vibes. What's difficult, as you said, Bobby, is to create different vibes in a composition. So, entering the world of EDM production and Ableton, I started to learn coding in order to map MIDI controllers, and as I would push the button, they would change section. So you can pre-prepare some chord progression, or you can pre-prepare bass lines, organic or synthesized, or also just grooves, and basically design the structure of your song. I think that what I want to do now is to produce with a clearly defined structure a looping song, thanks to this MIDI controller that are mapped, so that I can jump to A section, B section, go back to A, go to C, and create differences with the knobs. And then in the video that I think you saw, I was using effects. So with an Ableton push, it was very easy. You go to a rack of effects in Ableton, and I pre-selected. Again, it's a lot of pre-preparation in live looping. And then I had some different kinds of reverb, different kinds of distortion, different kinds of delays, and then I would choose them and combine them, wah-wah pedal kind of vibe. It's all plugins basically and effects. But then I would push in that section because like, okay, this is the vibe of it now. And you can decide how much freedom you want. You can have it also changing automatically, so it's already going there, or you can have a free section that is looping on its own in Ableton, and then you change the color of your sound.
Bobby, I think you're gonna have to step up your looping game.
Yeah.
Right.
Man.
I like that, man. I like the thought process, and you also just, for me, it was both entertaining and educational. Everything you just said.
Thank you so much, Cody.
Yeah, and do you follow any looping musicians that I haven't heard of? Maybe like the two that I follow are Steve Lawson, who's a solo bass player from the UK, and then a woman named Tosh Sultana from Australia.
She's amazing.
She's amazing. I actually got to see her live here in Charleston. She came
Wow.
here last year on a tour, maybe 2 years ago. But yeah, just seeing looping live and just making a full production of it's really cool.
Yeah.
She's actually getting a full band together because she says what she wants to do is she can't do it by herself with looping anymore. But yeah, so Bobby's question is there any looping artists that you follow that we may not know of?
All right. So when I was studying in Paris, there was this teacher, clarinet and bass clarinet player called Emilian Verret, that he was into looping with the analog machine. So I started listening to his music in Spotify, and he was like a bass clarinet player looping, so it was very cool. And he was using beatbox to simulate drum set.
Oh, nice.
So that one of a big influence to me. Another bass clarinet that is huge on looping is Michael Lowestern. And I love him because he's super funky. He is a funky guy, and he translates the bass clarinet into this crazy psychedelic almost world, and the looping enhances it, but he never misses the chance to have a super clear structure and bring you in a storytelling performance. So that's very much cool. Another guy was a big influence was Casey Dreesen, violin fiddle player, that he does solo looping performances, and he uses this humongous rack of pedals that then changed the sound of the violin. So invented this technique called chopping, and it has some percussive techniques, and then improvised on top. He has an octave, he has a bass, basically. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. How can I achieve that with what I own? That is basically nothing. I have a laptop and Ableton.
Right.
So that's when I was the rack that he owns physically. I was putting it into free plugins that you can download and tweak. And then instead of using a huge rack, I would use a mini. It's a nanopad and nano control. These two little Korg controllers. So basically, my set is super light. I have two mini controllers, 100 grams each, and the laptop.
Yeah, man, you can tell that you've really done your research and that it really honestly means a lot to you. And I mean, that's awesome. And it shines through your music that you obviously love music and you're doing it for the love of music, and that's all you're doing it for. And just you explaining it, you can tell, and it's almost like you're a grown ass adult, but the little child is coming out of you, and that's amazing. And that's something I
Thank
want
you.
to speak on is your project that you're doing that in English is translated to the little child,
Yeah.
and you're doing music like I've never seen it before. Like it's multi-sense, sensory. So the taste, the smell, and you're working with little kids that have auditory issues. Can you speak on that? Where the hell you came up with that in the first place, and then continue to go on what you want to do with it?
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you.
Hmm.
As I came to Berkeley again, they are throwing at you so much stimuli, and you're triggered so much that I was like, okay, I think here I can dream big. Basically, what I really appreciate of my year at Berkeley was this: they gave me the confidence to dream big. It's like if you really dream it, you can achieve it. So I was like, okay, what do I want to do? And I remember that when I was young, I imagined always to go in a concert hall, listening to classical symphony orchestra, putting smells. So it's like depending on the piece, I wanted to have smells going on in a theater. I was like, wow, isn't that cool? Why can I do it? Yes, let's do it.
Right, right.
And that's how it started. I wanted to put smells, and then it was like, okay, maybe I can also put taste, and what can I combine? And then again, at Berkeley, they had this super cool 360 camera. I was like, hey, let's go there. Basically, the classical world always was limiting me on the
Mm-hmm.
nerd side, let's say. I was very much nerdy on classical. I love to listen classical music only, basically. And then Berkeley smashed my horizons and they were crushed. So I was like, okay, now I'm free. I can experiment with whatever I want. And engaging in this experimentation with a childish attitude, in the very good sense of it,
Right.
was, I think, the key. So I was like, okay, I want a 360 video that communicates a vibe, and I want the same vibe to be communicated by my music. And the same vibe has to be communicated by the smell and the taste. And since I always try to achieve completeness, I'm eager to find completeness in my ideas. So I wanted to have the five senses together. And I was like,
Five.
okay,
Okay.
the touch, the smell, the taste, and then I was researching, and basically we don't have five senses, we have 17 or more. They don't even agree, the scientists, on how many we have.
I believe that too. I'm sorry to stop you, but
Go, go, go.
a lot of things that you said, I don't know if you've ever taken any psychedelics, but you talk a lot about seeing colors and feeling colors, and then like I don't know if you have, but if you haven't, I'm glad that you because we do only have five senses, but we probably have much more,
Yeah.
So I'm glad, like not to touch on it, but I'm glad that you can actually see deeper into things, and it's like also with the little child, you know, the Bible talks about it, other books talk about, because a child has these big dreams, they have these big aspirations, they can do whatever they want, they can be whoever they want to be,
Yeah.
and then the world kind of breaks us down and we're like, okay, gotta go to work, gotta do this, gotta do that, and we're not happy anymore. We don't have these dreams anymore. So, like I like I said again, I'm sorry that I stopped you and interrupted you,
Oh,
but
please.
man, I just I got a boost of energy and was like, I have to say this.
I love it. Please feel free to stop me. That's amazing.
But yeah, man, that's awesome
Yeah, I
with
mean,
what you're doing. You left off on saying like you want to touch on the different senses with music, and we might have this many senses, we might have this many. The scientists disagree, may agree, and yeah, you can continue if you want.
yeah, thank you, thank you. That's amazing that music brought me to this way of thinking, and opening, and it's like, hey, look, scroll down, take off of yourself any boundaries, and just keep exploring as a child. So I was
Hmm.
like, what if everybody could do that? That's when I was saying my sensibility, I wanted to be able to inspire other people. So I want them to try something cool that would make them understand how cool it is to connect with your own child and be able to take off your society clothes, let's say.
Mm, mm,
So I was like, okay, I want to give my own child the possibility to express. I'm gonna pick four emotions like awkward. And it's like, how does my child feel awkward? Let's express it into a multisensory experience. So I started trying kiwi peel. I was like, that's awkward. I'm gonna eat that. And I was like, I've never eaten a kiwi peel. Let's go for it. And then it
right.
was like, but with what can I put it together? And I started having gelatina, that is like jelly
Okay.
and kiwi peel, or Nutella and kiwi peel. I was like, what
Mm,
is the most awkward combination? And
it's
that's
very
just for
awkward.
the taste, because at the end I chose the Nutella, because Nutella is very dense and the
Hmm.
kiwi peel is slippery on the Nutella. And it's like, does this even make sense? I
Nope.
don't know, but for my child, interior child was cool,
Yeah.
and that's all that matters. So that was the idea behind Il Fanciullino, the little child. Every emotion, relaxing or surreal. It was like, what is a surreal smell? What is a surreal taste? And it was just a way to trigger my own sensitivity again and try to dig deeper into how I feel the world. So I started taking a 360 video of a normal room and I made it very dark, adding some lights, and then I added an umbrella and a pug on the roof, like a waterfall. I learned how to create a 3D model of a waterfall. So you start from a very little idea just to have fun, but then this triggers a lot of research on many fields, and you start basically knowing yourself more through this research. And then a teacher in a campus on Berkeley was working with a group of children with auditive deficiency, and she was like, "Hey, why don't we connect these two things together?" I was like, "Of course, I want to
Mm,
have my music for them in this super multisensory experience for them to enjoy." And the problem is that having an auditive deficiency, I wanted to implement it somehow. So I discovered that thanks to friends recommending me, in these
right.
cases, it's so cool to have good friends that know a lot. It's like, why don't you use a surface speaker? I was like, hey, what's that? And basically they invented the small like Bluetooth speakers that
Hmm.
instead that sending out vibration like music, they send just vibrations. So when you have a beat, the table that the speaker is on will vibrate at the same pace. And I was like, hey,
Mm,
what if I have the headphones with my 360 band music connected to the speaker? So again, connecting and creating aggregate device from my laptop in order for this to happen is a lot of technical research. And then
hmm.
I would put the speaker on their body, on their bones, and the vibration would go inside them with the music as a way to implement it what they were lacking of, let's say. But was so cool. I had like a lady, I think she was on her 40s or something, and she started crying because of the experience reminding her of her childhood. I was like, wow,
Wow.
man, here I'm
Wow.
touching something that I should definitely keep digging in.
Yeah, definitely. When you were talking about this before we started recording, and even your explanation of it right now, It reminds me of an experience I had probably about a month and a half ago at a museum. So there's an art museum probably about 2 hours away from where me and my wife currently live. And we went down there to visit with some family. And it was a very multi-sensory experience. It didn't have sound or like smell, but it did have like touch, different dimensions of like dark and light. And I pulled it up just so I can kind of show you and Nate and explain to you kind of what I'm talking about. Because with it being
Yes.
visual, it's hard to understand. Let me get to it right quick. Can y'all see that?
It says you started screen sharing, but I can't
Same.
see it. Yeah.
Oh, you can't see it? That's
No,
I hate technology.
that's really weird.
Yeah. Oh, yes, now I see.
There it is.
You
There
see
it is.
All
Yeah.
right, cool. Yeah, so this is
Wow.
an artist from Iceland. Her name's she goes by Shoplifter. Um, but for me, like it really brought out like that inner child that you've been speaking of. And in a very similar way, the app that you were telling us that you're developing is going to give people like a real world experience where they can have this accessible on their phones or their devices and experience the vibes you're creating out in the real world. Kind of wrap up, can you share a little bit about your project and maybe how people
Yeah.
can get involved?
All right. After this Il Fanciullino, after that experience, I was like, I want to keep studying this multisensorial experience. I think I really like doing that. I want to continue. So this year, I was keeping developing these 360 experiences. But then coronavirus came, and I found myself at home doing music from my laptop, and I couldn't go out. And I was almost gonna expose my experience in a contemporary art museum here in Valencia, but then again, because of the virus, plus the visor that people would use, I mean, it's not that comfortable nowadays because of you need to disinfect and be careful with these things. So it's like, okay, let's find a simpler solution. And then I started thinking and asking friends and connecting with mentors. And this artist from Valencia, he was like, hey man, why don't you know more? You get to know some augmented reality applications. I was like, oh wow, what's that? I started researching and I fell in love with the concept. It's so easy to develop it and to put it in a phone, and then you can basically scan the real world and embed digital elements to it. It's like an Instagram filter. They recognize your face, they can put ears or whatever, they change the things. That's augmented reality. We're already living it, and that's cool. But I wanted to use it for an artistic side of it. So I started doing my research and looking. I spent a lot of time on tutorials and learning new softwares in order to be able to code and develop an app. And then sometimes I was like, again, am I a clarinet player? When people ask me, what do you do? I'm like, man, I don't know really. I guess I try to enjoy myself. That's it. I don't know.
Well, hey, you're definitely enjoying yourself, Luca. I wish we could speak longer. It's been beautiful speaking with you. I love what you're doing. I feel like you're going to help people, and I feel like you are getting true happiness out of this. Again, I appreciate you for talking with us. This has been another episode of Off the Beaten Path podcast. Drink water, pee a lot, keep your posture straight. And if you have anything to say to your fans in Italy, if you want to speak a little Italian, that's perfectly fine.
I would say, ragazzi, mi raccomando, l'importante nella vita è divertirsi. The important things in life is just to have fun. That's what we live for.
That's beautiful.
Grazie
Thank you,
mille.
man.
Thank you guys for having me. It's been such a great pleasure.
Yes,
Thank
definitely.
you. Thank you so
Enjoy the
much.
rest of your evening, and we'll talk to you sometime soon.
Yes, with pleasure. And you too, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.